Welcome back. So we have our, well, frankly, really boring website, but we've created our server. But what else can we do? A server usually accepts a request from the browser, right? Now, up until now, we've done what we call a root route, that is the home route, because in here we haven't written anything. But sometimes in a website, you might see something like blog, right? And if I hit enter, you see that not found. The URL was not found on the server. Again, that's because right now our server is only waiting to hear for the root request. But if we type something like blog, well, there's no function here that cares about that, so it sees that there's nothing to care about and moves on. So let's create a blog route as well. I'm going to copy and paste and just say that, hey, we want to listen to the blog endpoint. This is going to be called, let's call it blog, and say, these are my thoughts on blogs. If I save, again, we have the debugger mode, so I don't need to restart. If I refresh now, look at that. These are my thoughts on blogs. And if I go to the root directory, I get hello. We now have multiple routes. How cool is that? By the way, if we open up the developer tools, go to developer tools, open up the network and just refresh here, you see that we're getting a document. Ignore this part. This is just the developer tools and the plugins that I have. But this is what we get back. We just get a simple document, a response, which is a text. And if I go to headers and I actually scroll down, you see that I requested this URL. I got a status of 200. And I see here that the content type that the server responded with was something called text HTML. Now, this is something that Flask does for us. You see over here that I just sent a string, but Flask automatically converts that to HTML so that the browser can understand it. As a matter of fact, if I go to elements here, you see here that I have my HTML with a body of hello inside of it. So that's something that we get automatically, which is really, really nice. But now we can start doing some really neat things. For example, let's create another route. And this time, let's say I want the blog from, let's say, 2020 about dogs. Can I do that? Well, yeah, absolutely. Let's say blog 2. And this says, this is my dog. Very engaging blog post there. So now, if I go back, I do blog. All right, I get that. If I do blog 2020, let's say dogs, I get this is my dog. Awesome. So I can have multiple routes like this. What if I remove this and have 2 blogs with the same endpoint? If we go back and just go to blog, I get these are my thoughts on blogs. Because once it hits a route that it sees, which on line 9 it sees, it's going to automatically just return and forget about the rest. So let's bring our dog's blog post back. But you know what's a shame? Because we have this beautiful website, I'm being sarcastic here, this beautiful HTML website that we've created with CSS and JavaScript. Wouldn't it be nice if instead of me just sending out text, I can actually send those? Could I do that? Well, yeah, you can. You see, Flask has another thing called render_template. And this render template function is going to allow us to actually send the HTML file. So let's say the home route now, instead of hello, is going to do something different. Instead, it's going to run the render template function that comes with Flask. And in here, we give it the HTML file that we have. So we can give it a route, in our case, because it's in the same folder as the server file, we can just do index.html. If I run this, let's see if this works. If I go back to my home route, I get an error. Let's read the error. Template not found, index.html. So it tried to look for index.html and it didn't find it. That's not good, is it? What if we do a // which means current directory, grab the index.html. If I save and refresh, I still get the error. Again, this is another thing that you'd have to just learn as you read the documentation. But the reason that this is not working is because Flask automatically, when you say render template, tries to look in a folder called templates. So let's create that. I'm going to say new folder, call it templates, and put all my HTML files, in this case, the single HTML file that I have, I'm going to say move, and put it in the templates folder. So now it's in here, and let's save, go back and refresh, and look at that. I am a webmaster. Everything is working. If I go to blog, these are my thoughts on blogs, but my HTML file that I've created is working perfectly. How awesome is that? And Flask uses this idea of templates to add multiple HTML files. So for example, I can create a new file. Let's just say duplicate here. So I'm going to duplicate this file and call it about.html. And this about.html is going to say about me. And let's go into server.py and have the root folder as index.html. And perhaps add another route, say about.html. And yes, I can do that as well. And in here, we'll grab the about.html. Let's call it whatever we want. Let's say about function. And if I go back, go to about, well, it's not going to work because remember I added the .html. There you go, about me. Awesome, this is great. We're starting to learn about different routes and how servers work. And we're able to send our HTML file. But what about the JavaScript files and the CSS files? How can we do that? In the next video, we'll find out.